Okay, guys, this is the continuation of my story, A Cutter's Life. I had to stop the last video because I can't go over 15 minutes. I'm going to continue from the last paragraph I read in the other video. Hope you guys don't mind. Enjoy. Susie was a little concerned when she said that. Susie gently took the journal from Cindy's hands and started to read what she wrote. Susie almost started crying from worry and fear. Cindy knew she was worried about her, so she figured it would be okay that she read her journal. Cindy didn't know what to say. Susie was very concerned about Cindy after she read what she wrote the night before. Susie asked Cindy if she was going to try and get help. Cindy paused for a moment. Then she answered, I have tried, but when I do get help, it gets worse. Is that why you haven't told any of us that you were cutting? Susie asked. Yes, that is why. And because I didn't want to be treated or thought of differently. Cindy says, or Cindy says, she was always treated differently when she told someone of her secrets. She didn't want that to happen again. Cindy was trying not to break her promise. She tries her best not to every day. Cindy had the urge to cut again, but she promised Susie that she would fight it. She kept her promise the night before, but she doesn't know how long she can keep that promise. The urge was so strong that her wrist was throbbing and her eyes were filled with tears. The urge was too strong for her to fight it again. She wrote and wrote and wrote until she couldn't write any longer. She fell asleep with the pen in her hand. Her journal was already a quarter of the way filled. In one night, she knew that it wouldn't last long. She had so much going on that night, she couldn't handle it anymore. The writing helped her a lot, but she couldn't use the journal forever. Writing couldn't Writing doesn't solve everything. Writing lists the drama, but it doesn't solve it. Writing won't last forever, but it can help for the time being. I will search for someone to help me, Cindy told Susie. Susie was glad that she was going to look for help. Cindy went to a counselor at the school and said that she wanted help. The school counselor got mad at her, so she left. Then she went to a professional counselor and did get help. The counselor sat her down and they talked for about an hour. She felt like she could trust the counselor automatically because everything was confidential between them. She was wrong. The counselor didn't care about the law. She shared all of her secrets with her coworkers, so she didn't go there anymore. She didn't know what to do anymore. She told Susie her experiences with counselors the next day at school. Susie understood why Cindy didn't like counselors, so she told Cindy that she would be her counselor when she needs it. Susie knew how Cindy felt, so she was always open when she needed help or just a listening ear. Susie has been in the situation where she had no one to talk to because no one would listen to her. Cindy was glad she had a friend like Susie to talk to. She never had a friend like her before. Cindy smiled as bright as the sun when she heard Susie say that. It made Cindy's day when she heard that Susie cared about her so much. Cindy needed a friend like Susie a long time ago. Cindy wondered why it took so long for Susie to become part of her life. She didn't care why it took so long for Susie to become part of her life because she realized that all that matters is she was a part of it now. Susie was a life changer for Cindy. After that day, they were inseparable, and nothing could change their relationship. The school day went by pretty fast for both of the girls. Cindy wanted the day to be over more than Susie did. Cindy had an instinct that she was going to use her journal up tonight. Her life was based on drama routines. She always had the same routine. She knew that something was going to happen when she got home. Again. She just wanted that drama to be over. She was not stable enough to not use the journal tonight yet. The hard part is having enough ink in her pen to write out her issues and to avoid the urge to cut. Her wrist was throbbing so bad it felt like her wrist was begging her to release the blood. They made plans at lunch to hang out after school together at Susie's house. The final bell rung to signal that it was time to go home. The girls gathered their stuff up and met at the front doors of the school. Once they met by the doors of the school, they started to walk to Susie's house together. They were trying to stay in a positive mood, so they had made jokes the whole time they were walking together. But Susie noticed that there was something wrong with Cindy. Once they made it to Susie's house, they went straight inside to her bedroom so they could talk. Susie asked Cindy what was wrong. Cindy told her that her wrist was throbbing, and it felt like her wrist was begging her to release the blood from her wrist, like there was too much blood in her wrist. Susie became very concerned for Cindy's health at the moment. A lot was going on in both of their minds. Neither one wanted to speak at first. Neither one of the girls knew what they should do. Susie was proud of Cindy for resisting the urge to cut, but Susie was also concerned that the cutting caused serious damage to Cindy's health. Susie noticed that Cindy was actually starting to shake like she was cold. Susie went next to Cindy and asked if she was okay, because her eyes started to water a little bit also. Cindy said that she was a little cold and the urge to cut was getting even stronger. Susie became very concerned for Cindy's health. Susie grabbed a light blanket from her closet and wrapped it around Cindy. Then she went downstairs and asked her mom to take them to the hospital. Her mom was worried, but she didn't ask any questions and said to get Cindy downstairs to the car. Susie went upstairs to find Cindy rocking back and forth on the floor. Susie was really worried about Cindy and rushed to her side to try and get her downstairs as fast as she could. Susie was fighting her tears. Cindy could barely support herself at the time, so Susie wrapped Cindy's arm around her shoulder to support her and walked her down the stairs from her bedroom and out to the car. Susie's mom seen her struggling to support Cindy, so she rushed over to help her get into the car. Susie sat in the back of the car so Cindy could lie down on her lap and try to relax. Susie tried to calm her by petting her head because she knew it helped her. Susie's mom rushed them to the hospital as fast as they could. Susie felt Cindy's forehead and she noticed that Cindy was sweating profusely. Cindy was also shaking even more and she was starting to break out into tears. Susie began to break out into tears as they arrived at the hospital. Susie was very worried about Cindy and told her mom to hurry and get a wheelchair for Cindy while she got Cindy to sit up. Susie's mom came out with the wheelchair for Cindy. so Susie helped get her in the chair and pushed her inside. Susie knew better than to call Cindy's parents. Cindy's parents would make everything worse for her. They always have and always will. That's one reason why Cindy was in this mess in the first place. Susie signed Cindy in and tried to comfort her while they waited in the waiting room for their turn. After the nurse read her slip, she was called up first. The doctor checked all of her vitals and found out that her heart was beating extremely fast. The doctor got her into the first room he could and gave her something to calm her heart. Right down. Susie wouldn't leave Cindy's side for anything in the world. Cindy's heart rate only slowed down a little bit, so the doctor gave her a sedative to put her to sleep. Susie told her mom to make sure the hospital would not inform Cindy's parents. Susie told the doctors that she would handle that when she is better. Susie was way too worried about Cindy to deal with the drama of Cindy's parents. Susie also knew that if Cindy woke up seeing her parents in the room, her heart rate would speed up dramatically again, and Cindy could not have that. Even though they are her parents, they treated her like she was a piece of crap. Cindy tried her hardest to please them, but she still was treated like crap. She never really had someone who loved her in her life until Susie came along. Cindy finally woke up to see that Susie never left her side. That whole time she was asleep. She still wasn't back to normal, but her heart rate finally slowed down. Cindy smiled as she seen Susie's face right next to her. Cindy grabbed Susie's hand and held her hand. Susie smiled right back at Cindy as she gently squeezed her hand. You could see it in their eyes, how much they truly cared about each other. They knew that they could not ask for a better friend than each other. Cindy was so glad that someone cared about her so much. Cindy realized that she wasn't alone in the fight to stop cutting. Cindy thought to herself, if Susie cares about her so much, why did she cut? But she couldn't think of an answer. Everything was going good and started to look good for Cindy. That was until her wrist started to throb again. Susie could tell that something was wrong with Cindy again. Cindy started to squeeze Susie's hand again. It scared Susie so much. She was nervous, so she asked Cindy what was wrong. Cindy said that her wrist was throbbing again. Susie didn't know what to do for Cindy. It was getting really bad for her. She didn't know how to help Cindy. Cindy's wrist started to swell up a little bit. Susie told Cindy to call the nurse's station to get the doctor back to the room. Cindy's doctor came back to the room to see what the problem was. The doctor seen Cindy's wrist and told the nurse to hurry up and get an ice pack. The nurse came back with the ice pack and handed it to the doctor, and then he put the ice pack on her wrist to calm her nerves in her wrist. The doctor told Cindy to relax her wrist. The swelling started to go down after about 15 minutes. Cindy was admitted so the doctors could keep an eye on her for at least the night. When Susie heard that Cindy was being admitted, she never left her side and refused to leave her side. Susie refused to go home, so the doctors finally agreed to let her spend the night with Cindy. Cindy was glad that someone was there with her all night because she needed the support in the middle of the night. The middle of the night is where she struggled to avoid cutting the most. Everything was going good until late that night. Okay guys, that's it for this video too because I'm running out of time. See you in the next part.